Hey all, I'm John Markowski here in New York City, where the normally loud and boisterous streets are quiet and subdued. I'm so grateful to be here with all of you, to the campus ministry leadership and Alpha Omega for bringing us together like this, to worship and to be moved by those powerful stories that we heard. I'll be reading from the Bible's book of Matthew, chapter 27, if you'd like to turn there with me. And I have a few thoughts as we come near the end of our time together. 2,000 years ago, a Palestinian Jew from Nowheresville started a revolution the likes of which had never been seen and is still going strong today, evidenced by you being here tonight. And there's nothing like it. There's been nothing like him. It's unique in all of human history. He loved with this crazy love that no one had ever seen before. He loved strangers. He loved the sinners. He loved the sick. In fact, his love for the sick in particular was so compelling that generations of his followers would stay in cities where plagues broke out, even when everyone else took off. Parents, children, they would leave everything behind, but the Christians would stay and take care of the sick and the stranger. Often they would even risk their own lives by doing so. By 325 AD, the Council of Nicaea decreed that every time a new church was set up, they would also set up a new, what they would call hospitality group or hospital as well. So we can thank Jesus for the modern civilian hospital, which we are especially grateful for right now. Now, it's a crazy thing to even say out loud, but people of his time murdered Jesus for this kind of radical love. And it wasn't just a brutal killing on a cross. They insulted him the whole time. The Romans dressed him up like a king with a scepter and a robe and a crown of thorns. And here in Matthew chapter 27, the Jews are mocking him while he's being nailed up there on the cross. Matthew 27, verse 42. He saved others, they said, but he can't save himself. He's the King of Israel. Let him come down now from the cross, and then we'll believe in him. He trusts in God. Let God rescue him now if he wants him. For he said, I am the Son of God. Let's repeat those words again from the middle. It says, he saved others, but he can't save himself. Let God rescue him. It's ironic. It's as if these mockers are actually scripting the end of the whole gospel message. These temple trash talkers unwittingly give us the message of Jesus himself. No one can save themselves. Let God rescue them. The world sells us a lot of salvation, but it can't deliver. That car, that boyfriend, the girlfriend, the clothes, the job, the degree, the title. You can work 3 lifetimes and still not save yourself. Jesus said it best. What good is it for someone to gain the whole world and yet lose or forfeit his very self? Which leads me to Mexico. Years ago, when I was living in Los Angeles, I joined our ministry staff on a short men's retreat just over the border. We left late to come back. We were on an empty road around midnight. In the middle of the road, we see these line of cones. And then we can make out a bunch of guys dressed in military fatigues with machine guns. So we pulled over. They had us get out of the car. There's about 6 of us in this big truck. And so 5 of us were on one side of the truck. And for some reason, they put me on the other by myself. And they're speaking over there. And a few of our guys are speaking Spanish to them back and forth, just trying to figure out what's going on. And eventually they came to me. And the leader had this baton in his hand, and he's shaking it, and he's asking me questions, and I don't understand him, and my Spanish was terrible at saying, I'm sorry, I don't speak the language, and he's getting more and more frustrated, and I'm getting more and more frustrated, and eventually he takes the baton and he hits me in the chest with it. And guys, I lost it. My brain broke. I grabbed the baton, I said, get that out of here, don't you ever do that again. And before I knew it, 5 guys with machine guns are pointed at me, and I'm on the ground. And I thought, this is it. Stupid move, John, and now I'm dead. Luckily, one of the guys, Jose, ran over, puts himself between the guns and me, starts speaking to them in Spanish, and everything starts to calm down. They eventually let us go. Now, I love Mexico, and stuff can happen anywhere, but the moral of the story is, number 1, don't be an idiot like me when a gun is pointed at your head. And number 2, everybody needs a Jose. Jose rescued me when I couldn't rescue myself. He put himself in harm's way to help me. In a moment of panic, it was his words that saved me. Today is Good Friday, and cultures and countries around the globe commemorate Jesus' death today. But maybe like me, you've wondered, why call it Good Friday? An innocent, righteous man gets profiled, arrested, whipped, brutally executed on a cross. How about Bad Friday? How about Depressing Friday? And honestly, doesn't that feel a little bit more appropriate for the times we're living in? I mean, record highs of this virus's infections, the death rate is soaring. I'm here in the so-called epicenter of it in New York City, and people are scared. People are unsure how this is all going to end. Family and friends have lost jobs, lost savings. Like 600 people a day are dying, and we know some of them. It's Bad Friday. But we're deciding to still believe in the rescue mission of God. And here's why. Here's why I personally believe. I've been on the brink of death, not just gunpoint, but overdose. I've been really sick. I've been hurt. I've lost loved ones. I felt severe rejection. And guess what? I'm still here, and so are you. God rescued us through it, not from it. God does that because some of our best moments come after our worst ones. I don't know if it's some algorithm that God has set in our DNA, or it's just the arc of our lives, but think about it for a minute. You know, movies don't inspire us until they first take you down really low. Remember the first 5 minutes of the Pixar movie Up? Best friends or married couples are usually the closest after a big argument. What is up with that? You know, after winter must come spring. Thank you, Lauryn Hill. I mean, a volcano made Hawaii. Need I say more? You know, there's no Easter Sunday without that terrible Friday. And that's what makes it good. It's pain, yes, but pain with a purpose. The craziest part is God had it all laid out. It's written in the Bible hundreds of years before Good Friday even happened. In Psalm 22, it says that they would pierce his hands and his feet, that they would gamble for his clothes. And that's exactly what the Roman soldiers did. In Zechariah 11, it says that they'd sell him out for 30 pieces of silver. And that's what Judas did. In Isaiah 53, it says he would die a horrible death. He'd be killed with criminals. He would intercede for our lives, but then he would see the light of life. And that's exactly what Jesus did. He rose on the third day. And that's a real hope, not a hoax. The tomb was empty. I mean, I'm a Jew and I was a competitive debater, so I went hard at this one. And it's hard to argue. All the Romans or Jews had to do was produce a body to prove the Christians wrong, but they couldn't. Bones are an interesting thing. I mean, they're either there or they're not. You look for the high priest Caiaphas' bones, they're there. You look for King Herod's bones, they're there. You look for rando Romans all over the place, names, bones laid out, all there. Jesus' body, no bones. Oxford historian Dr. Thomas Arnold says it like this: no one fact in the history of mankind is probed by better and more fuller evidence of every sort than the fact that Jesus Christ died and rose from the dead. So where do I go from here? What do I do with this Good Friday? Well, it's simple. You can't save yourself. God rescues you. It'd be foolish for someone infected with COVID-19 to reject a physician's care, right? But then why do so many of us reject spiritual care when we're obviously infected with sin? We need saving and we just can't do it ourselves. It's just like you can't pardon yourself. You need a king. You need, in this case, divine authority that can actually forgive what we've done. And Jesus is our rescuer. He did the hard work a long time ago, and now it's our turn to respond. You know, for some of us, it's time to make that phone call. It's time to send that text. It's time to study the Bible and become part of this revolution. You know, words of the Bible have real power. We saw that earlier. It changes lives. And just like those words that Jose uttered in Spanish to rescue me at gunpoint, Jesus' word rescues us all. And not just in one terrifying moment, but for all eternity. When you're rescued, you get busy rescuing others. There's a young man named Ozan who moved here 8 months ago from Ephesus, modern-day Turkey. The first day he showed up at church, we were studying about his hometown in the book of Ephesians. It would have been easy to stop studying the Bible during quarantine, but the guys just kept on Zoom, on Skype, on Google Hangouts, 2 to 3 times a week. You know, God's word has completely transformed him. And this past Saturday, he made the decision to make Jesus Lord of his life and get baptized. Of course, we stayed 6 feet apart. I had my gloves on and my mask. And the coolest thing is afterward, he came out of the water. You can see there's this rainbow, as if God was reminding us that he's not far from us and that it's going to be okay. You know, the rescue mission is spiritual and physical. Here in Manhattan, we've been busy sourcing hundreds of N95 masks and other personal protective equipment to our church members on the front lines. We're like the Underground Railroad of PPE over here. And remember the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD? Well, here's the modern version. Doctors, nurses, police officers, morgue staff, EMT, PAs, and even Trader Joe's cashiers are wearing the masks we got. Because we're not a people who got stuck on Bad Friday. We're the people who saw the light on Easter Sunday. You know, a couple Fridays ago, New York became a citywide flash mob of people hanging out of their windows and balconies, cheering for our healthcare professionals at 7 p.m. during their shift change. It was just a one-time thing, but you know, as New Yorkers do, they did it the next night, and then another night, and now it's every night. And not just cheering for those healthcare professionals, but it's pretty good for us just to get out there and scream it out. Sometimes you gotta let it out, all that lockdown angst and frustration. But we're also cheering for something good for one another, for the future. It reminds me of that prophetic 22nd Psalm, as I personally have been crying and praying and screaming and not sleeping great. And I remember these words that Jesus himself repeated on Good Friday. My God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from saving me? My God, I cry out by day, but you do not answer. By night, but I find no rest. Yet you are enthroned as the Holy One. In you our ancestors put their trust. They trusted, and you delivered them. To you they cried out and were saved. Sometimes you just gotta shout it out. So guess what? I'm gonna invite you right now to scream just like a New Yorker. Yes, just like the psalmist said, yep, this is happening. You need it, I need it. I don't care what time it is, where you are, you got nothing to lose. So stand up, open a window, grab your roommates, get your mom, let's go. Scream because you need to get it out. Cheer because you have hope in a future where God rescues. Yell because you're not gonna sit around during this time and do nothing. You're gonna get engaged and make some noise because you believe in something bigger than yourself. You ready? Be part of the rescue, now and forever.